A very good morning to all of you, for those who are logged in from India, and my sincere greetings to all those who are logged in from different parts of the world. I would like to thank all of you and express my sincerest gratitude for joining us on the second day of our 21-day habit challenge. I would like to give a short recap of what we discussed yesterday on the first day of our 21-day habit challenge. Yesterday we discussed 3 principles. The first principle was that challenges are an integral part of our growth. If we want to grow in anything in our life, we have to take and accept constructive challenges. The second principle that we spoke about yesterday are the 3 kinds of habits: good habits, neutral habits, and bad habits. Good habits, we should try and consciously enhance them. Neutral habits, we should utilize them. And bad habits, we want to deal with them, chuck them away, reduce them, minimize them, and slowly just take them out of our life, because they are ruining our physical, spiritual, and emotional well-being and health. The third principle that we spoke about yesterday was 3 things. Number 1, let us introspect how we have performed in the last 1 year in that area that we wanted to work upon ourselves. And if we haven't done very well, no problem, we have a chance again. Therefore, the second principle is identify that one bad habit that you want to work on as you enter into the new year. And I hope that yesterday through the day you have thought about what is that one habit that you really want to work upon. The third thing that we spoke about was make a resolve, a sankalpa. We will all make a resolve to stick it out for the next 21 days, and together as a community we will try to deal with that one bad habit for each of ourselves, whatever we decide. I'm really glad that so many of you log in to our Facebook Live from different parts of the world. Thank you very much for joining us. Pramod, Diya, you're saying I want to work on fear, but I'm sure you will get some kind of pointers through the discussions through these 21 days. Now, this figure 21 days is very interesting, because loads of management gurus, life coaches, corporate trainers will say that if we want to deal with a bad habit or form a good habit, we have to work on it for at least 21 consecutive days. Why? Because it takes at least that much time for something to sink into our systems. And that's just how habits are, aren't they? For example, how did we really form a habit? Habits are repeated patterns of action that form a very deep mental imprint, and that mental imprint makes us do the same thing again. To give you an example, somebody who started smoking wasn't a chain smoker on the first day. Started smoking a cigarette, for example, just to try it out, just because friends wanted him or her to do it. And once a person starts smoking for the first time, it leaves a mental imprint, let's say of pleasure. And that mental imprint of pleasure makes the person do it again. And when you do it again, there is a mental imprint. And that mental imprint makes a person do it again. And that action leaves a deeper mental imprint. And that makes a person do it again. And thus, as we repeat that action over and over again, because the deep mental imprint that's formed on our minds, that's what we call a habit. In Sanskrit, that's called sanskar. This sanskar, or this mental imprint that impels us to do something over and over again, that loop is what we call as the conditioning. We've all become conditioned to do something in a certain way. And therefore, if we want to undo it, we will also have to repeatedly keep undoing it, so that the mental imprint or the sanskar changes. Isn't it therefore inevitable that we would at least need a minimum 21 days to even think of changing that mental imprint? I'm not even saying it'll change in 21 days, but wouldn't we need to give at least that much time and more to change that mental imprint or that sanskar that has happened over such a long period of time. So if that's called conditioning, this is called unconditioning. In fact, to form a negative habit doesn't take that long, but to unform or to uncondition from it does take a while. I always say, habits are like soft, cozy beds. They're very easy to get into, but very difficult to get out of. If you've ever been sleeping in a soft, cozy bed in the winter season, covering yourself with a blanket, a duvet, a quilt, it's so easy to get into, but God, it's so difficult to get out of. Yes, we've been conditioning ourselves for too long. We need certain amount of time to uncondition ourselves as well. So stick it out, persist, be patient. Just be with us for 21 minimum days to look at how to deal with it. Here's the reflection that I want to offer to all of you for today until we meet tomorrow morning again at 8 o'clock. One of my friends, he wanted to get into a little bit of bodybuilding, and he didn't have kind of a carved body or anything. He was just like a regular person, and he wanted to get into having a very carved, ripped look. So he went to the gym one day, registered himself, and decided to first work on his shoulders. The very first day he hit the gym, he picked up a heavy barbell, a huge heavy barbell, and tried lifting it. God, disastrous. It was dangerous for him for the simple reason that his shoulders didn't have the sufficient strength to lift this barbell. For sure, he would damage his shoulders, some of his ligaments, probably the bones would end up in a fracture. Such a heavy barbell. Not only was it disastrous and dangerous, but I think it was also very detrimental and discouraging. Why? Because he also lost the confidence that he can do it. What if he would have gone to the gym and started with a tiny dumbbell shoulder press instead of a barbell shoulder press? Just take small dumbbells which are not so heavy, which are comfortably within the limits of his capacity to do it, and start doing a shoulder press with a tiny dumbbell. And as his shoulders get used to it, as he develops certain tangible strength in the shoulders, make a small increment in the weight. If he just increases the weight a little bit more in terms of the dumbbells, a little heavier dumbbells, and then starts working on it for a couple of days or weeks, his shoulders get used to it, they build more strength, then increase more weight, and if he keeps making small micro increments in the weights of the dumbbells, within a couple of months, I think, he would probably be able to lift that heavy barbell as well. I very firmly and strongly believe in this principle of micro changes for a macro transformation, micro increments for a macro transformation. I remember a friend wanted to start waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning to start going out for a jog. He came and asked me, how do I do it? How do I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning? I said to him, well, it's a great idea. What time do you wake up at the moment, currently? He said, well, I wake up at 9 o'clock in the morning. And he had actually tried for shifting from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock. And God, that was the end of building up on this habit. Ladies and gentlemen, imagine someone who's accustomed to sleeping until 9 in the morning for years, and suddenly one day to change that habit, to get himself out of that habit and get himself into the habit of waking up at 5 o'clock to go for a jog, shifts from 9 to 5, suddenly a gap of 4 hours. That change, that increment of 4 hours. Oh my God, finished. That's the end of it. He was groggy, sleepy throughout the day. He tried for 2 or 3 days and just gave up. I said to him, why do you want to wake up from 9 straight to 5? Why don't you start waking up at 8:45 in the morning instead. From 9 to 8:45 is only a 15 minutes installment. It's only a 15 minutes change. And I don't think you would have too much of a problem just changing from 9 to 8:45. And then once you're comfortable over a couple of days or weeks to waking up at 8:45, change that installment 15 minutes further. From 8:45, start waking up at 8:30 in the morning. And then at 8:15, and then at 8. And then if you're comfortable, change that 50 minutes installment to 20 minutes. From 8 o'clock, now go to 7:40. From 7:40, go to 7:20. And sure, if we make those small changes, get adapted to those small changes over a period of time, and keep working on ourselves, we'll surely be able to deal with what we want to deal with. This man actually started waking up at 5 o'clock every day in the morning. Of course, it needed other adjustments like sleeping a little earlier, trying to sleep well, so that through the day he wouldn't feel, sleepy and drowsy at his work when he was at his workplace. One other friend, he came to me and he said to me that I smoke about 40 cigarettes a day, and I know it's getting on too much to my health, and I want to stop smoking. I said to him, why do you want to stop smoking? I think you should continue smoking. My God, the guy was like shocked. A monk as I am, he's coming to me and asking me he wants to stop smoking, and I tell him, you continue smoking. I told him, look, my dear friend, I don't think you should stop smoking. You should continue smoking 38 cigarettes a day instead of smoking 40 cigarettes a day. If you smoke 40 every day and you go from 40 to 0, imagine the kind of withdrawal symptom that you would get. Now with this waking up early example, you would feel drowsy, groggy, a little kind of, lethargic through the day, but you wouldn't get a massive withdrawal symptom. But things that have gone deep into your system as an addiction, smoking for example, would surely create such a massive withdrawal that instead of giving it up, you'd probably get back onto it with double the force, and instead of 40, you'd probably end up smoking 45 or 48. So why don't you smoke 2 less, 38? And then after you get used to it for a couple of weeks, and it's not a big deal, just 2 less, move to 36, move to 34, move to 32, and then probably installments of 4 cigarettes, 28. And slowly yet steadily. It takes a while, but Rome wasn't built in a day. You can't give up a habit that has got deep into our systems overnight. हिंदी में कई बार हम कहते हैं, ऐसा तो नहीं होता ना कि आज भर्ती और कल चक्रवर्ती. अगर सेना में आज भर्ती हुए हैं तो चक्रवर्ती बनने में कई युद्ध लड़ने पड़ते हैं, तभी चक्र मिलते हैं, तभी medals मिलते हैं. It's not that, I'll translate for those who don't understand Hindi, it's not that when you join the army you get all the medals right away. After joining the army, you have to fight a few battles before you get those medals. Rome certainly wasn't built in a day. And this friend of mine, after a while of doing this, did give up his habit of smoking. There are other habits as well that we have. For example, we get very angry, we throw tantrums. I'm sure some of you are very closely connecting to me and saying that yes, it's just so deeply sunk into our systems, we're just so conditioned that when the head is hot, we just start yelling sometimes, or we just withdraw, or we just giving a silent treatment or a very loud treatment. We just kind of get frustrated. So what do? I think let's not start with those larger ones. Let's not start with when there's a massive disagreement between you and your spouse, or you and your friend, or you and your boss, or you and your colleague. Let's start with the small things. Your pizza doesn't come on time. The guy at the restaurant, the waiter, doesn't bring your pizza on time. Rather than getting super upset and even saying something, it's okay, just a small delay. And it's not so much because you are supporting that the pizza should not come on time. We want it on time for sure, but it's for you to form a habit of dealing with the small things first. Ladies and gentlemen, deal with the small things. It makes a big difference. Start with the small micro changes. You will see that you will end up with a massive, large transformation. Micro changes will bring macro transformation as our principle. The small little installments and increments will bring in the massive, large change in whatever habit we are wanting to deal with in our lives. So today, I want all of you, we will all do it together. Let us all look at, I hope you have identified that one habit from yesterday. Let's all look at what is that increment or what is that small installment that we want to make in dealing with that habit over the next 5 days. Decide whether it's smoking, whether it's binge eating, whether it's getting angry, whether it's waking up, whatever your habit is, decide what is that small installment that you want to make for yourself, which is comfortable for you, which won't leave you with a massive withdrawal symptom, which won't make you groggy, lethargic, but you are changing small steps towards a large change. And after 5 days, we will take a review again to change that installment, to go further and see how we can actually improve in our lives. Once again, thank you all very much for being with us on our Facebook Live session. And I will see you tomorrow morning once again at 8 o'clock Indian Standard Time to discuss our third reflection on the 21 Days Habit Challenge. Conclusively, micro changes for a macro transformation. Do make that decision of what that installment will be for you through these 5 days in whatever habit you want to deal with. Thank you all very much and have a great day ahead. Hare Krishna.